Pratyaka Anuvarana and Samjolan. The first one, the Ananta Anubandhi Karma, is the strongest patient, Unless this is eliminated, you cannot have the right belief. So this is the first condition that this Anantanubandhi Karma of all four types, must be eliminated in order that we have the right belief. So each one of the patients will have these four grades. So total in all, there will be 16 subtypes. Then we have no kashaya or quasi patients karma. These are of 9 kinds: laughter, indulgence, dissatisfaction, sorrow, fear, disgust, male disposition, female disposition, and hermaphrodite disposition. So these 9 subtypes of no kashaya karma, they are also important, but they are less important as compared to the main kashaya. The next we have Vedani, or the feeling producing karma, again 2 types: pleasure producing and pain producing, what we call as a Sata Vedani and Asata Vedani. The next one is the Ayush karma, or age determining karma. And this karma, makes us take birth in 4 different types of realms. You can be born as an animal or infernal realm, infernal being, or a human being, or a heavenly being, or Dev. So these are the 4 types of Ayush, which we bond. Then the next one is the Nam karma, or the form producing karma. This is important from the scientific point of view, as this karma has very much in common with the genetic science. And this has 42 subdivisions. One is Gati Nam karma, the 4 types of existence, and the 4 types of body to be built, by the Nam karma. Jati Nam karma, that is, 5 kinds of senses, or you can say 5 types of sense beings. 1 sense being, 2 sense beings, and so on up to 5 sense beings. Then body, or Sharir Nam karma, and this recites 5 types of bodies, which are, the gross body, the protein body, migrating body, energy body, and carbon body. Then organ and limbs, Angopan Nam karma. This karma primarily determines the primary and secondary organs which are to be built in the body. And this karma decides that they are built at the proper place and of the proper size. Then nirmana, or the morphologic karma, this determines, that parts will integrate to give a proper shape. And then bandhan nam karma, is responsible for binding of atoms and molecules. Then formation of Gat nam karma, and this, ultimately produces the shape of the body or the organ. Then figure of the body, what is known as Sansthan, and there are 6 kinds, 6 sub-kinds rather, Yes, the first one is Samchaturas Sansthan, or perfect symmetry all over the body. Then the Niagara Paribandal Sansthan, this gives a particular type, which I explained in the lecture. Then Swati Sansthan, hunchback figure, or Kubjak Sansthan, dwarf or Vaman body, and lastly Hundak, or asymmetrical body. And the next one is Sahanan, or the firmness of joints. This is again of 6 kinds. That is, there are 6 kinds of joints of bones possible. The first one is Vajra Rishab Naraj Sahanan, and the second one is Vajra Naraj Sahanan. Both are very strong joints. And then Naraj Sahanan and Ardha Naraj Sahanan, the medium kind of joints. And the last 2 are the weak joints, Kilika Sansthan and Ansaplant, Supatika, Sahanan. So these two are the weakest kind of bones or joints in the bones. Then Varn or the body color, there are five types of color. We define 5 types of color, and therefore this is called 5 types. Otherwise, there could be subtypes or subgrades of these colors, but which is not given here. Then gandh or body smells too, you say it's good or bad. And ras, which is 5 types. So the body can have, it's, you see, all these descriptions are for the entire range of species, not only human being, remember, So it could be plant or any kinds of small insect or being or so on. So the ras or the body taste could be 5. Then we have spurs, which can be of 8 kinds. The migration, anupurvi. This karma comes in fruition when, the soul is migrating from one body to another. So this is anupurvi. And this karma then, is responsible for maintaining the shape of the body during the period of migration, which is only 1 samaya or maximum 4 samaya. Samaya is a very, very small unit of time. It can be described as, the time taken by a Parmanu moving from one Pradesh to the adjoining Pradesh when it is moving at very low speed. That way, it's a very small unit of time. Then a balanced bed, aguru lagu body karma, this produces a balance in the body. Then self-annihilation, upagat body karma, a body, which can harm the organism itself, like a snake's horn, or the male deer's horn. Then injury to others, paragat, the body can cause harm to another being or another person, For example, a poison in the snake or scorpion, or the wild animals having paws, or the poison in the tree and so on. Varam splendor, atapnam karma. Then cold luster, udyotnam karma. Gati, gait, vihaya gati, how the person, the organism moves, gait. So it could be graceful movement or ungraceful. Respiration, uchvas nam karma, produces the respiration system. Then there are 10 sets of these other karmas, the body can be either mobile or immobile, that way. It can be gross or micro or subtle. It can be developed or underdeveloped. It is individual or common. Firm or flexible, beautiful or ugly, sympathetic or unsympathetic. They are in pairs, melodious voice or harsh voice, suggestive or non-suggestive, yash kirti or ayash kirti. That is either fame or, the notoriety or bad name. Then lastly, Tirthankar Nam Karma. And the Tirthankar Nam Karma gives a body, which is suitable for Tirthankar. The Tirthankar requires a very strong body, remember. And then it has many other features, many other special qualities Tirthankar has is because of this Nam Karma. Then the next type of karma is a Gotra Nam Karma. This it is of 2 types, high status and low status. And in modern terms, it refers to heredity effects. Then vitality offspring or Antaraya Nam Karma. And this is of 4 kinds. Charity obstructing, gain obstructing, enjoyment obstructing, re-enjoyment obstructing, and spiritual power or the willpower obstructing, or Viryantara. These 5 grades, and they are being obstructed, so that is, there is some kind of obstacle in your doing good work, and this could be because of your bad health or grief or worry. Some cause comes in the way of doing good things, Then effects of karma. How all these 8 types of karma affect us? So jnana varni karma is when it gets rise. The question is, when the karmas are rising, uday, then what happens to us? So we are considering only that aspect, rise of karma. So given the jnana varni karma is on the rise, then your cognition fails. You are not able to cognize things, or you are not able to know the things, in spite of the fact that the senses are working. Some kind of obstruction. Darshana varni karma, soul fails to become aware in spite of being alert. And there's something happens to your senses or otherwise to the body, and you are not able to be aware of a particular object. Then sata vedini karma, this gives the experience of pleasure, and it could be through any one of these senses, either words, sight, smell, taste, touch. The pleasure could be through any one of the senses. Asata vedini karma, it produces pain. And this could be due to, again, unpleasant words, sight, smell. Your senses could be a reason for pain, or can be taste or touch, or adverse mental, verbal, bodily conditions, any one of these, or all of them. The mohani karma, the soul experiences a perverse state and fall in character. So it can suffer from perverseness or lack of righteousness, or both. And ayus karma, the soul lives in the present body till the ayus karma are exhausted. And subhanam karma, the soul experiences higher physical and verbal conditions. It may have superior speech, superior looks, good smell, good taste, good touch, good movements, good position, good beauty, good fame, and so on. You have a physical strength, courageous person, valor, melodious, impressive, effective, mentally pleasing, sound, and so on. So these are the effects of subnam karma. Asubnam karma is just opposite of that, which I just now told you. So it may have inferior speech or inferior looks, bad smell, bad taste, bad touch, and so on. Then a high gotra karma, the soul experiences a state of elevated class, family status, power, position, industriousness, scholarly achievements, financial gains, prosperity, and so on. And this is has a relation with the hereditary effects, in some way. Low gotra karma is opposite of the high gotra karma. And antaraya karma, the manifestation of soul power is obstructed, and you are not able to do good acts, or you are not able to engage in good acts, rather. The relationship between karma and body. This is the main thing which you want to study in this particular course. And it's a very difficult subject and very long subject, So here I am just giving an idea that, possibly in what way the karmas can react or interact with the body. So for example, jnana varni and darshana varni karma, because these two karmas are related with cognition, or our knowledge production, or the knowledge generation. And therefore, as far as science is concerned, this function is being performed by the brain. So we expect that, these two karmas will be related with the brain. Of course, the 5 senses being with mind, Otherwise, these karmas may relate to with some other function of the soul. Mohani karma, perception is regarded as mental phenomena in medical science. How do you perceive the things? It's a mental phenomenon, and therefore this karma is also related to brain. So we expect that the Mohini karma is related to brain through mind. So the concept of mind has to be discussed first before we can establish a connection with the brain. Antaraya karma, our willingness or resistance to perform an act. And this is also a mental function, is our mind, which is allowing us or not allowing us to do something, good or bad. So antaraya karma ultimately must connect to brain again. In fact, all ghati karma, all four these karmas will have their function with the brain. Then the aghati karma, the vedaniya karma, So in the medical science, it is the pain is related to state of tissues in the body. This is what the medical science tells us. And the experience of pleasure has some connection with the secretion of hormones. So this vedaniya karma then must be related to the body tissues and the chemical activity in these tissues and the secretion of hormones. So therefore, it must be connected to endocrine gland system and so on. Nam karma, basically connected with the physical body and other kinds of body, even a tejas body, but primarily with the physical body. So the Nam karma must manifest in the body, in the physical body, and must be connected with the various kinds of functions of the cells in our body. You will learn about the genetics in the next lecture, the next class. But what I am telling you is that Nam karma is primarily connected with the body and different body parts. There are sub-functions, the functions of the cells, and so on. It's a detailed study. Gotra karma again can be related to basically genes again and the hereditary fact. Ayush karma is related with the bioelectricity in the body. The body functions with electricity, bioelectricity. All the body functions are performed with the help of the electricity. Electricity is a kind of energy which is causing activities of the various parts of the body. So the Ayush karma is connected with the bioelectricity. Bioelectricity, no life. This is what the medical science tells us. And the Jainism tells us that no Ayush karma, no life. So the bioelectricity and Ayush karma correlate. So these are only preliminary observations, and we will have more detailed study in many lectures, following lectures. So this is about the one lecture on doctrine of karma. I'll now share the second lecture.
Sir, one question is there.
We'll have the questions in the last, please.
Okay.
Let me share screen. It takes a few minutes, Okay. Is it visible?
No. Yes.
Okay. So,
Sir, please press F5 so we can see the full slide. You press F5.
No, I understand, but I'm doing that, but it's not happening.
Or go in the slideshow option and full screen so we can see the full slide.
I understand, but I am not able to do it. Why?
Okay,
I do not know.
Okay.
I do not know why this is not happening.
Okay.
Okay, now it is there full screen?
Yes.
Okay. So having talked about the doctrine of karma, in this lecture, we'll talk about the material part of karma. After all, the karma, that is the carbon body and the tejas body, are made from some kind of subtle matter. So we must know about these class of matter. This is very important. So this lecture is about introduction to the matter in general, and then we'll talk about the varganas, which are the subject material of the subtle bodies. So this is a primary thing, that the Pudgal, the matter is called Pudgal in Jain philosophy, and it has 4 defining characteristics: color, taste, order, touch, and shape. So this is the preliminary things. Then touch is important. The touch, there are 8 kinds of touch, and 4 of them are primary touch. What we call as Sheet, Ushna, Snigdha, Ruksha. So Sheet is cold, Ushna is hot. So the touch can be cold, hot, Snigdha, Ruksha. This has to be defined. And the definition comes from this particular next line. You find it in the red. Sarvartha Siddhi is a book, which says that Snigdha Rukshatva Guna Nimitta Udyot. It says that, how the Udyot, or the atmospheric electricity, is produced. He says Ruks, Snigdha and Ruks, these 2 properties are responsible for producing atmospheric electricity. And the science tells us, that the lightning in the atmosphere is because of positive and negative charge. So here we make an analogy and say that because there are 2 theories, for the same process. One say it is because of positive and negative charge, and one say it is because Snigdha and Ruksha properties. So then they are same, So the Snigdha and Ruksha then means it is a charge. And the Snigdha is taken as a positive charge, and the Ruksha is taken as a negative charge. This is by analogy. Then there are 4 secondary touches which are produced from the primary in certain conditions. They are not always there, but they are there in some kind of Pudgal and not there in all kinds of Pudgal. And these are Alka, Bhari, then Mradu and Karkas, soft and Kathor, or soft and hard. These 4 secondary touches are produced from the primary. What do they mean in terms of the modern science or our common language? Mradu is a soft touch, refers probably to soft or weak bonding between paramanus. Kathor is a hard touch, it probably refers to hard or strong bonding between paramanus, or even in any kind of material. Halka and Bhari is a Lagu Guru, is called as a Lagu Guru. So Halka and Bhari means, it indicates mass property in terms of modern science, It is because of mass that you feel an object heavy or light or something like that. So the Halka and Bhari, these 2 touches refer to mass property. Then we talk about, the question is how these secondary touches produce from the primary touches. So this is described in scriptures. It says that, when positive paramanus are in majority and they bond in cold condition, hard touch is produced. And when the majority of negative paramanus bond in hot conditions, soft touch is produced, and so on. And when the majority of positive paramanus are bonding, then the heavy touch is produced. And when the majority of negative Paramanus are bonding, then the light touch is produced. So the 4 touches are produced from the primary touches. There are 3 types of matter, which is described. Matter having 5 colors, 5 tastes, 2 smells, 4 touches. It is a subtle class of matter, or which is massless. Basically, it has 4 touches, but that has other properties. Then matter having 5 colors, 2 smells, 5 tastes, and all 8 touches. So this is 8 touch matter. So basically, there are 4 touch matter and 8 touch matter. And there is a 2 touch matter, and we will discuss about it. So Parmanu, which is the smallest constituent of material entity or Pudgal, which is further, it cannot be divided further. So it's indivisible, it's indestructible, it's eternal, incombustible, and also imperceptible to sense organs. So our sense organ cannot detect Parmanu. We know Parmanu only because of Agam, or because the omniscient has told us that there is an entity like Parmanu which is eternal and so on. So we know through Agam only. Otherwise, we cannot know Parmanu. And Parmanu has only 1 color, 1 smell, 1 taste, and the touches are, 2 of the 4 primary touches, either hot or cold, or either snug and rich. That is, it can either have a positive charge or it can have a negative charge. And the positive charge can be in the cold condition or in the hot condition, and so on. Then Parmanu, of course, is moving. It has its own way of moving, which is not described or which cannot be predicted. The Parmanu cannot be stopped by any object. It pass through all objects in the world. Any object Parmanu will pass through. An infinite number of Paramanus can occupy 1 space point. It's bosonic. Those who are familiar with science might know about what is boson. So boson particles, which is a force particle in science, and boson, is such that any number of bosons can occupy the same point. Similarly, here we are saying that any number of Paramanus can occupy the same space. And then, of course, Parmanu has certain properties, how the negative Parmanu moves, how the positive Parmanu moves, and so on. So then inference is what is Parmanu in modern terms, And I told you that it can be either positive charge or negative charge. And it can have a cold and hot condition, and it is of course. So basically, then we infer that the Parmanu is an electric charge, So it's an electric charge which can be positive or negative, or this charge could be in the hot and cold condition, So basically, it is a charge. And because it is a charge, the science tells us that if it's the electric field, if electric charge moves in space, it also produces an electric field, So we expect that the Parmanu would also produce an electric field, when it is moving. Or a skandha. A skandha is a combination of Parmanus, and which can be from 2 Parmanus to infinite Parmanus, and higher than infinite to infinite Parmanus, So all these skandhas will also, when they are moving, they are expected to produce a kind of field, which is electromagnetic field. But this field is a little different from the electromagnetic field science is familiar with. Here, in our case, it's a subtle kind, again, which we cannot detect. We cannot detect an electromagnetic field produced by these Parmanus. And then we are saying that the Parmanu is the quantum of energy. In science, the photon is regarded as quantum of energy. Here there are bonding rules, how the Parmanus will bond. Whether the similar Parmanus will also, the similar charge Parmanus will also bond, and dissimilar charge Parmanu will also bond. And there are defined in this table. Then one important now type of matter, the Pudgal, is Vargana. Vargana is a group of Parmanus, the Parmanus group together. Okay, they form what is called as Vargana. And this Vargana can have any number of Parmanus, so right, starting from 2 and going up to infinity. And these Varganas are very important, because our soul receives us for doing various kinds of functions. So there are two ways, or the two kinds of division or the classification of Vargana which we find in scriptures. One in the Shvetambara text, another one in the Digambar text. And both are very interesting. The Bhagavati Sutra, which is a Shvetambara text, describes 8 types of Varganas with which the soul can associate. And these are Udarik Vargana, Vaikraik Vargana, Aharak Vargana, Tejas Vargana, Karman Vargana, Swachoswas Vargana, Bhasha Vargana, Mano Vargana. And the functions I defined in the lecture, I will not repeat it here. All these Varganas are subtle and they are found all over Loka, all over universe. So the whole universe is packed with these kinds of Varganas. They are found everywhere. Then Gomatsar is a Digambar text, and the Gomatsar is basically Satkhandagam, those who are familiar with those texts, The Satkhandagam is the original text, and Gomatsar, a Tika written on that Gomatsar. So the Gomatsar Jivka text, defines 23 types of Vargana. And starting from Anuvargana, which consists of single Parmanu, then countable, you go on increasing the number of Parmanus as we go from the first Vargana to higher number of Varganas. So when we go to the second Vargana, the number of Parmanu is more. You go to third, it is still more, and so on. So the Varganas are written here in increasing number of Parmanu. So the first 4 Varganas, right up to Anantaranu Vargana, these Varganas are not of any use to soul. Soul cannot make use of these Varganas. That means a Parmanu is just such a small quantity that the soul has no use of that, unless infinite number of Parmanus combined together and form a Vargana, then only it is useful to soul. So less than an infinite number of Parmanus in a group is not useful to soul. So the 5th one is Ahar Vargana, and this is supposed to constitute the gross body, the protein body, and the migratory, the Aharak body of organisms. Then 6th is non-associable. This Vargana does not associate with the soul. The 7th is the Tejas Vargana, or energy Vargana. 8th again is non-associable. 9th Vargana is a speech Vargana. Then, the 11th one is Mano Vargana, and 13th is Karman Vargana. And you go on to the next interesting type, which is individual body Vargana. All these Varganas up to Karman uh, 13th Karman Vargana, you see in this slide, all these Varganas are 4 touch, they are subtle type. And when go to higher ones, so for example, 17th, individual body or Pratyakshari Vargana, this is 8 touch, and this is gross type of Vargana. All previous Varganas were having only 4 touch. And now 17th has 8 touch. That is 4 more touches are produced in this Vargana. by the method which I described earlier. And this is very important, Vargana, individual body or the Pratyek Sharir Vargana. You know, if you look at the living beings, we can classify the living beings in two ways. This is one of the classifications, you know, the individual body or the Pratyek Sharir or Sadharan Sharir, which is the common body. A Pratyek Sharir means, you know, there is one soul in one body. A Sadharan Sharir means, you know, there are many souls in one body. So that way the classification. The Pratyek Sharir Vargana is possessed by many kinds of organisms. So first thing is the common trees, like, you know, the neem tree, the babul tree, the mangoes, the orange tree, and so on. All these trees are not Pratyek, they are Pratyek Vanaspati, or they have Pratyek Sharir. Means that, you know, there is one soul in one body, but at the same time, they are Sthavar Jeev, you know. So Pratyek Sharir will refer to that. But it is also found in other cases. For example, a monk, you know, who is going to 13th stage or 14th stage, you know, a monk who is omniscient or Keval Jnani, or in the last stage of Keval Jnana, the 14th stage. Even in that stage, a human being, you know, omniscient is also a human being, but his body is a Pratyek Sharir type. That means, you know, there is only one soul in his body. You know. This is, you make comparison with our bodies, you know. Our bodies will have, you know, innumerable living beings in our own body, you know, in the form of bacteria, in the form of virus, and so on. But they are absent in the case of omniscient. And the omniscient body is purely, it's a pure body in that sense, in the sense that no bacteria, no virus. It has only his own soul, and that's all. So this is very interesting. As far as the plants are concerned, you know, the science tells us that, you know, the plants have life because of sun rays. And without sun rays, the plants do not survive. Why? There is a particular process, photosynthesis, which is going on in the plants because of sun rays. So sun rays are behind the construction of the body of plants. You know. So if you draw an analogy, and because the sunlight consists of particles known as photons, so we make an analogy and say, look here, the Pratyek or Sharir Vargana, or the individual body Vargana, could be photon. Okay? Because both are doing the same function. So we draw an analogy, and we'll use this analogy in our lectures. Then other fire Varganas are large, or the Badar Nigodh Jeev Vargana, or large Nigodh Vargana. This Vargana is again having 8. It is a Badar, and it forms the body of Badar Nigodh Jeev. And it forms, in fact, you know, the Karman body and the Tejas body of these Badar Nigodh Jeev. The Odharic body, there the Odharic body is formed from another kind of matter, you know. So, but the two subtle bodies are made from Badar Nigodh Vargana, which is again of 8 touch type. And the 21st is Suksma Nigodh Vargana. Suksma Nigodh Vargana forms the body of Suksma Nigodh Jeev. Suksma Nigodh Jeev, you know, they are found all over the lok. They are so subtle, they are not visible to us. They can be seen only by omniscient, otherwise they are not visible. They cannot be detected by any scientific instrument. And their all 3 bodies is made from this Vargana. That is their Karman body, their Tejas body, and their Odharic body, the gross body. All 3 bodies are made from this Vargana only. That is a very special kind of organism or G, you know. And one thing which is much a strike to you is that, you know, there is no carbon varna is not being used for the carbon body, which is normally the case in the case of all organisms we know. But in this particular case, even the carbon body is not there. The carbon is made of this vargana, small nigodha vargana. It signifies in the sense that, you know, perhaps carbon body is necessary when the large amount of information is to be stored. In the case of small nigodha G, the information to be stored is so small that you don't need carbon vargana. Even in this vargana, in a small nigodha vargana, perhaps can store the small amount of or minuscule amount of information which is there in this kind of G, you know. Sukshma, very nigodha G, small nigodha G. So it's very interesting, you know. This is how that goes. And the last one is the 23rd is the gross matter Mahaskandha Vargana. And it is said that, you know, this is the source or the source, the origin of all gross kind of matter which we see. So all that matter, you know, which science studies is made of this Vargana, gross material Vargana. That means, you know, the electrons, the protons, the neutrons, those who are familiar with those kind of particles are made from Mahaskandha Vargana. And because the electron, protons, and the neutrons, they, of course, are the building blocks of all the matter which the science studies, you know. So similarly, this is the building block of all that kind of matter. Lastly, is the last slide, which is important to understand the conceptual part. You see on this slide, you know, on the axes, I have drawn number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on. They represent the Vargana. What type of Vargana? The one is the first Vargana, second is second type of Vargana, and so on. So the 13th K, if you find 13th is the carbon Vargana K, 11th is Mano Vargana, 9th is Bhasha Vargana, 7th is Tejas Vargana, 5th is Ahas Vargana, and 17th is Pratyakshari Vargana, which I compared with a photon. Now, you see this scale. So as you go from Vargana number 1 to Vargana 17, you know, the number of Paramanus are going on increasing, you know. It becomes infinite in the 4th Vargana. In the higher Vargana, it's more than infinity. So infinity can be of various types, you know. So, so number of Pradesa is, you find this red line, the number of Pradesa in the Vargana, this red line is going down. That means the Vargana becomes more and more compact, you know, as go from the lower order to higher order. For example, 13th Vargana is a compact as compared to 11th Mano Vargana. Mano Vargana is compact as compared to 9th Bhasha Vargana, and so on. So it becomes compact, you know. Although the number of Paramanus is increasing, it becomes compact, the structure becomes dense, and number of Pradesa, that is the space which it occupies, goes on decreasing, you know. So carbon Vargana is Shukshma as compared to Mano Vargana, although it is a more number of Paramanus. And the one thing which I want to show here, which is very important, if we believe that the Pratyakshari Vargana is light photon, it represents the light photon, then light travels with a certain speed c, okay, and which is 3 lakh kilometers per second. So light travels with that speed, and we call that speed as c. Okay, so the 17th one represents the photon with the light, and light travels with that speed. for the Varganas which are higher than 17, at what speed these Varganas would move, So they would move with the velocity slower than the velocity of light. And this is what the science tells us, that the velocity of light is the highest velocity or the maximum velocity that can be achieved. All other velocities are less than that. So I have represented here that for 17, this is the vertical line. On the right-hand side, I have written V less than C. So the velocity of those Varganas is lesser than the velocity of light. But you see on the right, the left-hand side, I have shown that V greater than C. So all these Varganas, the Karman Varganas, Mano Varganas, which are 4-touch matter. Okay, so the 4-touch matter is the one which moves with the velocity supposed to be much greater than the velocity of light. And there is a reason to assume this or accept this kind of condition, when a soul leaves one body and it goes to another location, another destination to take birth in another body, So the soul is migrating from one place to another place. For example, let us say from this earth to some heaven, which is very, very, very far away. We don't know where they are, but very far away, definitely much beyond our galaxy, So such a large distance, the soul travels in one samaya. This is what, wherever it goes, from earth to any place in the lok, it takes only one samaya. So you imagine the speed with which the soul is traveling, the soul goes with the Karman body and Tejas body, They are always attached to the soul. So the Karman body and Tejas body are also traveling with the soul with the same speed. How can they travel with such a speed? So that is why I have shown here that the 4-touch Varganas will have a velocity greater than the velocity of light. This is what the Jain philosophy says. Science, of course, does not accept this. Science says that no velocity can exceed the velocity of light. But, because the science does not know about soul, science does not know about the Karman body, and therefore, cross this problem. They never face this problem. And therefore, they say, okay, this is the maximum velocity. So I try to explain this particular feature with the help of this small here. So this is end of my lecture. And now we can have discussions. I have taken a very long.
Thank you, Professor Kachara Saab, for explaining the concept of karma and also the concept of matter in the form of different types of Varganas. So I would request all the participants, if they have some input or some questions, they can raise their questions and Professor Kachara will answer to those. If somebody has any questions, they can raise the hand.
I have a question.
Yes.
Which German scholar said that analogy Snigdha is equal to positive charge and Ruksh is equal to negative charge? And yes?
Yes, it was first told by a German scholar, yes.
Which German scholar? I want the name, if you know him.
Probably Strubing. I had to confirm, but I think probably Strubing.
Strubing, okay.
Yeah, perhaps, yes.
In which book it is written?
No, Strubing has written a book.
Yeah. The Jain doctrine of karma.
Not Jain doctrine of karma. I am not. I don't remember the title of that book.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the second question is, you told that Gotra karma is related with the genes. How is it?
Gotra karma, you see, what we are saying that, the soul take birth in Uch Gotra, Neech Gotra, and Kul, you know. So is the Kul and Gotra, you know, the science relates with heredity, you know. Science relates with heredity. You know, the parents' qualities are coming to the offspring. You understand?
Yes.
So it is the heredity effect, and this is what we are saying. Kul, you know, it's a good kul or bad kul, so it is coming one generation to another.
Okay.
So, yeah, so they both mean the same thing.
No, like Jati Kul Bal Roop Tab Shud Labh Aishwarya. If we have the ahankar of those things, then we get birth in the low kul, okay, low jati. That is related with that. How it can be related with the genes?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm comparing the two things, you know.
Yes.
The heredity also says that the traits of the parents are passing on to the offspring, you know.
Yes,
certain
yes.
traits. And this is what we're saying, you know, the traits of one generation going to the another generation. The both statements are same.
Okay. Okay. One you told that infinite number of Parmanu can stay in one space point is called bosonic. I didn't follow this. What do you mean by this?
Say in science, you know, boson is a particle. It's a force carrier particle. I don't know whether you are familiar with that or not.
Yeah.
So science says there are two kinds of particles, fermions and bosons. So bosons are force carrier particles, and their property is such that any number of bosons can occupy the same point, same space. Okay. The same property the Parmanu is having, you know. Any number of Parmanus can occupy the same pradesha.
Okay. One line you have written.
We are the same. We are saying about a Parmanu, and science is saying the same thing about bosons.
Okay.
Any number of bosons can occupy the same space, and we are saying that any number of Parmanus can occupy the same pradesha.
Okay.
Yes.
The one thing is, another thing is, you wrote that, you just told that Parmanu, not photon, is the quantum of energy. What do you mean by the quantum of energy? Parmanu, not photon. I didn't follow this.
No. Says, what is the quantum of energy? What is the smallest energy possible? So
Smallest,
as far as the science,
smallest
amount of energy. What is smallest unit of energy? Okay. The smallest quantity, you know, which can exist.
Yes.
Or smallest division of energy. I mean, I don't know whether you.
No. Why did you say that Parmanu, not photon, is the quantum of energy? This I don't follow this sentence completely.
So science says that the photon is the quantum of energy, and there can be no energy which is less than the energy of a photon. So as far as the science is concerned, they say that the photon is the quantum of energy, okay? But according to us, you know, a photon consists of infinite number of Parmanus.
Okay.
Photon is a skand. Photon is a skand. Photon is a skand.
Okay.
So then the Parmanu is much infinite times smaller than photon, you know.
Okay.
Then according to us, the photon is the Parmanu is the quantum of energy and not the photon.
Okay. Now I follow.
Okay, so now SP, he has some question. You can raise
Your
your
voice is broken. I can't hear.
Okay, SP, you have some question?
Yes. The thing is that
Please ask what you want to know.
you told there are 23 Varganas according to the Digambar tradition. Okay. So is there any logic for the sequence of those Vargana?
The voice broken. I am not able to hear.
Now is it
Yes.
audible?
You are speaking with so loud, slow, what is
See,
it, without any loudness.
there is no logic, which exists in nature. There's something which is eternal. Pudgal Parmanu is eternal. There is no logic. The soul is eternal. There is no logic. So there is no logic, in that sense. But the only logic is that they have described systematically. As the number of Parmanus increase in the group, what happens?
Because in the Shwetambar tradition is in
Can
the
you-
Shwetambar.
Pardon?
Can you speak some little bit louder, in louder voice?
Okay. In Shwetambar tradition, it's like ki one Vargana is Grahya Vargana, the another is Agrahya Vargana. It's totally depend on the sequence in Shwetambar tradition. So I want to know, same is followed by Digambar also?
Yes. See, this is how described, So the fifth is a Grahya Vargana, and the next one, sixth, is a Grahya, The seventh one is Grahya, and that eighth one is not Grahya, and so on.
Yes.
In the Digambar tradition also, we have both, Grahya Vargana and Agrahya Vargana.
Okay. Then second question is about karma. If we say there is a psychological effect, okay, of suppose the example is environment crisis. So from this 8 of the karma, which karmas are attracted due to psychological, or which karmas are affected due to psychological?
Psychology.
Yes. Gotra is biological. So
Psychology.
for cycle.
Psychology concerned with mental phenomena, it's a mental process. Psychology, you're talking of psychology, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
So we talk about the mind and psychology in one of the lectures, but psychology is a mental phenomena. It's a phenomenon of mind. Okay?
Yeah.
So you have to see how the mind is formed.
Oh, it is connected to which karma, she's asking.
Connected to the mind. So then we come to this question: how mind is formed? Which karma is responsible for formation of mind?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So it's a Jnana-Varani karma, Darshana-Varani karma, and also to some extent Antaraya karma. Okay. They're all responsible. And Mohani karma, because your mind, has raga and dvesh. It is there in the mind. Man.
Okay.
So all Gati karma that way are responsible for existence of mind.
Okay.
Okay. So not one, but all four. And we have a lecture on this, separate lecture.
Okay, thank you.
Then, Tarang, you can ask your question.
Jai Jinan to all. Sir, you have said that Varganas are not related to soul or associated with soul.
I'm not hearing.
Please speak in some louder voice. The scholar is very senior, no? So it should be audible to him.
Yeah, you have said that Varganas are not associated with soul, but this Karman Vargana is associated with soul. That's why a soul is a mundane soul, isn't it?
That's right. That's right.
Then how can we say that Varganas are not associated with soul, or which Varganas are associated with soul and which are not associated with soul? How can we differentiate?
No, only those varganas which are associable with the soul will associate, the other which are not associable will not associate with the soul, so they are not there with the soul. Only associable varganas are associating with the soul. Karman vargana is an associable one, a Tejas vargana is an associable one, and they are associating. Non-associable are not associating, so what is the confusion?
Actually, what I understood is that all the varganas are not associated with our soul.
They are not associated with any soul, yes.
But now it is clear that some of the varganas are associated with soul and some varganas are not associated with
There is
soul.
an interruption of voice, some problem with the interruption. I am getting interrupted voice.
She's saying that she understood that all the varganas are not associated with the soul, but it is not the fact. There are certain varganas which are associated, and especially in Shvetambara traditions, those varganas are mentioned as 8 types of varganas. Okay, so they are connected with the soul.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? So Professor Kachara, I have one question that when we talk about the varganas, so can we say that these varganas are like the energy packets?
Like what?
Like the energy packets. Energy packets.
Energy packet.
Yes.
Energy packet.
Yes.
Yeah, they are energy packet. Yes, they are energy packet.
Because
Varganas are energy packet, in fact. Yes,
because they are not single.
they are energy packets.
Yeah, they are not
certainly.
single Parmanu, but they are a kind of small
No.
aggregates, small aggregates, and also not visible.
Yes, they are not visible.
Yes.
And of course, they are energy packet because there are infinite number of Parmanus in one Vargana. So the Varganas are really energy packets. Yes, you are right.
Okay. Anybody
Hmm.
else has some questions?
I have one question. What do you mean by Grahya Vargana, Agrahya Vargana? It means few Varganas are not what do you call, imbibed by the soul. That you mean by Agrahya Vargana, or what do you mean by this? Grahya Vargana, Agrahya Vargana in the 23 Varganas.
Agrahya Vargana is a Vargana which exists in nature,
Hmm.
but does not associate with the soul.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
They are not of use of any living beings.
That's right.
What do you mean by Parmanu is incombustible?
Pardon?
Parmanu is incombustible. What do you mean by this incombustible?
You cannot set it to fire, you cannot burn it.
Huh? Yeah?
You cannot burn it. You cannot burn it.
Burn it. Okay, okay. Okay. Okay, thank you.
So no other question? Alok Jain, would you have some question?
Vandami, I have to, this is such a heavy matter, I have to digest it. So thank you very much, Kachara Sahab. It's really, really outstanding. Thank you.
Okay, so there are already video lectures which are uploaded on the concerned module. It would be better that the participants should listen to those video lectures before coming to class. And also they should take the reading of the concerned chapter so that You can ask the questions during this live discussion class. The purpose of live discussion class is to ask the question, to interact with the scholars and scientists. So thank you, Professor Kachara, for delivering 2 talks today on karma doctrine and also the subtle matter, or we can say the theory of matter in Jainism. And it is really very informative. And you have also correlate the genetic science wherever it is connected to the karma doctrine. So we will go into some deeper studies in the light of genetic science, especially about the karma theory. And might be the participants would have some questions in next time, because next time Professor Bhatnagar will address all the participants, and he is the expert of genetic science like Professor Kachara. And some questions that might be you have in your mind, and you can ask the Professor Kachara and also Professor Bhatnagar.
Vandami, I have one question.
Yes.
Like Kacharaji told that Snigdha Rukshatvat Bandha, that relation with Visham and some combination with the Snigdha and Ruksha, it is said in the Jain philosophy, but what is the scientific? Does they agree with this combination which we accept Visham and some combination of Snigdha and Ruksh Parmanus? Is there any scientific evidence that they also accept the same view?
Professor Kachara will answer to this question.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, if you look at, if you study the chemical reactions
Mm-hmm.
or the other types of reactions, which are studied in science, they also follow similar, almost similar rules, So this is, if you had to see the chemistry part, and
Okay.
if you are very interested, and there is a book written by Acharya Kanak Nandi.
Yes.
That books gives, the
Name of the
various
book?
chemical
Can I know the
and,
name of the book?
various kinds of combinations of. It is Brahmandiya Jaivik Bhautik Rasayan Vigyan.
Brahmanda? Brahmanda?
Brahmandiya Bhautik Jaivik Rasayan Vigyan. You have to
Okay.
get that book. That book, gives the examples from science,
Mm-hmm.
where similar rules are being followed.
Okay.
That
Okay.
would be very interesting. You can see that book.
Okay.
And if you
published
want, if you
from
want to get
Udaipur?
the book, you can send me. Yes,
Is it published from Udaipur?
yes. It is from Udaipur.
Okay.
And if you want, I can manage to send you a copy. I can ask somebody to send you a copy. You please send me your mail address.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Thank you.
So you are thinking to
Okay.
send the copy in physical form or in PDF?
PDF.
In a physical form, it's a book.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So I think all have asked their questions. So thank you, Professor Kachara, for giving the,
Samniji,
yes,
thank you.
thank you.
Now what I just want to inform the listeners, that the next 4 class, will be on genetic science. Okay.
Yes,
And they will be taken by a professor of genetics, Professor Mahib Bhatnagar. He's a very renowned professor of zoology and a great scholar. So he'll be talking to you on genetics part, in what way the genetics correlate with Jain philosophical aspects. So very selected topics of genetics will be told to you, will be taken for study. Very selected aspects, but very interesting. Very interesting if you want to know about genetics. These 4 lectures will be very important, very interesting.
Thank you.
Thereafter, we will come back to karma and try to correlate karma and genetics.
Vandami, we didn't get any kind of quiz from the first class, or we will
Yes,
get after this class?
This time, I have thought that there should not be any kind of quizzes, but
Okay.
there should be lecture.
Okay,
And in the
okay.
end, those people who are interested, they can develop their research paper and give presentation.
Okay, okay.
So thank you, Professor Kachara. We will listen to you again in next classes.
Yes, Amaji, Vandam.
Thank you. I think there is some confusion regarding the Zoom link among the participants. I have to send again some email through some other source so that they could get the new Zoom link and can be present in the class. So now we are, yeah. I hope I am sending so many times the notifications for the class lecture. Might be all are getting that notification. If somebody is not getting, let me know. And I have to see that where is the problem.